Hello, everyone. Welcome. Good morning. My name is Jennifer Caldwell. I'm the Chief Development Officer here at FoodShare. We're going to give it just another minute to let people kind of filter in. In the meantime, I'd like to do a little poll for you guys and ask that you vote right on your screen. I'll be happy to share the results afterwards. And it's just for us to know who's on the call today and how are you part of our FoodShare family. So I'll give you guys just a few minutes to punch in your answer, and that gives us a few minutes also to let more people join us. Such a variety of people here today. Don't worry, I'll share the answers with you so you'll be able to see what we have going on. All right, let me end the polling. If you're just jumping on, I'll give you another quick second. And then I'll share the results and then we'll get started. So you should be seeing the results on screen. We had, again, a really great mix of people, donors, volunteers, community partners, supporting in many different ways. And I love seeing a couple new people jumping on to see what we're about. And we welcome you to our FoodShare family. So as I mentioned, my name is Jennifer Caldwell. I'm the Chief Development Officer here at FoodShare. I'd love to take you through just kind of a few housekeeping items so you are prepared with what today is going to look like. At the bottom of your screen, you should see a Q&A box, and that's going to allow you to type in any questions or comments that you want to share. So at the end of the program, Monica and I can kind of go back and forth and do some answer of some of those questions for you. If you aren't able to get a question in, or we didn't answer a question that you had, I put our contact information on the bottom of this page here. So please do feel free to reach out to both Monica and myself if you have any questions that we weren't able to answer. This is also being recorded and it will be emailed to you afterwards, so you're able to, if you so please, watch it all over again, but share with anybody that you think would be interested in hearing about FoodShare's response efforts over the last few months, and how to get involved, whether it's volunteering, donating, supporting in any different way. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our President and CEO, Monica White. She's been with us for the past 3.5 years. And just when you thought we'd let her settle in as President and CEO, she got her first taste at food banking during a disaster. Thomas fires hit our county, and she was kind of thrust into how to food bank during a disaster. She led our team through that. And then when you thought maybe then we'll let her get settled in, well, the Woolsey and Hellfires had a bit of a different plan for her, and she again led our team through that. And yet again, when you think we'd let her get her settled in, the biggest pandemic that's ever hit not just our county, but our nation. And today she's going to be able to take you through a little bit about what she's done, our team's done, our volunteers have done, and how FoodShare has responded to the COVID-19 pandemic here in Ventura County. So without further ado, Monica White.
Thank you, Jen. I appreciate it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our second town hall. We had one a year ago. Cannot believe how fast and how slow it has gone by in the last year, as we all have been dealing with the impact of COVID-19. So today we're going to keep it 1 hour maximum. We will have you out of here, and we're going to be able to share with you a couple of things, fun things. We have an interview with one of our pantry partners. We have a special guest, our county executive officer. Jen's going to let me know when he has arrived to be able to say a few words. And we have a new video that we have put together about the impact of COVID-19 and FoodShare's response. And then we will have plenty of time at the end to be able to answer any of your questions. So we'll get started. Jen, are we good for Mr. Powers? Has he joined us?
Mike hasn't joined us yet.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah.
So what I will do is I'm going to go straight into my presentation, and hopefully when you give me the thumbs up when he's here. I will. All right, thank you so much. All right, so I'm going to share my screen and do a little sharing of Sharing of my screen. I always have to start with Jewel. This is Jewel Petty, our founder from 43 years ago. She says hello. I still talk to her all the time. She's 93 years old and is always asking us, how are we doing? Loves to hear about our challenges. Wants to know how we were dealing with COVID, but I love to be able to start with Jewel to be able to share how we all started. And I'm not going to be going today into a really deep at all process of how FoodShare works. This infographic really explains very much about how it's a little more complicated than just distributing food to those who are in need. But what I would like to be able to do is encourage you to go on our website, and there is a video of how FoodShare works. It's a great video, lots of drone footage to be able to share the ins and outs of exactly how FoodShare works. So take a look on our website. But today we're going to be talking about COVID response. So here we have, we'll just jump right into it. We are 1 year later since COVID hit. When we first started, we saw a extreme impact to our pantries. Our agencies, we saw a decrease in the number of agencies that were open and that were able to continue to serve within our network. And because of that, coupled with an increase in the amount of people who are needing food, we needed to find a new distribution method. So what we did is we opened up some, we call them our pop-up drive-through distributions, where we distributed emergency food boxes. This is a picture of one that we had on a Saturday at FoodShare. But 1 year later, we have been doing these pop-up distributions 6 days a week for over 52 weeks now, for a total of 335 drive-through distributions. And I like to include this one picture on the left because our volunteers have been amazing for the amount of support that they have been able to give us during these distributions. We can now say that our volunteers have been out at these pop-up distributions in the extreme, in a heat wave, in the rain, in the wind, and now just a month ago, we can say the hail. As you can see, this was at our College Park distribution. Pretty amazing about what they were able to endure to be able to help those who are in need. So what have we been able to distribute at these distributions? These emergency food boxes with purchased food. 1 year later, we have distributed 162,000 of these boxes. We have also been the distributor of it's called CFAP, which is a produce box distributed by the USDA, that we have been the recipient of being able to get out to to those who are in need, along with our emergency food boxes. 208,000 of those boxes have also gone out. And you can see a picture here of them in the trunk. We also have been working with the United Farm Workers. We have been the recipient of lots of additional food boxes for our farm workers. We have done 4,500 boxes that you can see that we're going straight out to the fields and being able to distribute it to those who are to our farm workers who have been impacted just as severely, probably more than ever due to COVID. We also have started a new program, which are kitchen-free bags. These are bags of food that do not require any kitchen utensils or appliances, heating to be able to eat. And so we have done over nearly 11,000 of these kitchen-free bags with some great pop tops and good food for our homeless neighbors. This is a picture of our warehouse where we are at capacity. We are beyond capacity, and I'll talk a little bit more about what that means a little bit later in the presentation. But this is one of our 3 warehouses with the amount of food that we've needed to be able to bring in to be able to feed the additional people who are needing food. This represents about 6 weeks worth of food. And this graph, I think, has been the most shared image in all of our presentations that we have been making. You can see this is an 11-year, 12-year infographic of the amount of food that FoodShare has distributed through our network of pantry partners and our direct distributions. But you can see that back in 2008, we were at 5 million pounds. It's steady growth. up until 2019, we thought we had hit the maximum amount of food that we would could ever distribute at 13.5. And we were sadly mistaken in that we doubled the amount of food that we distributed in 2021. We went from 13.5 to 25.6 million pounds of food. It has put an extreme amount of the need that is out there, but FoodShare has been able to meet that need through a variety of these distributions and new programs that we're going to be sharing. The Air National Guard. So our volunteers have been amazing this past year to be able to help us with being able to pack the boxes, distribute the boxes, and to continue to be able to get that food out. The Air National Guard has been with us since April 1st. And also, I'll do that, Jen. It's been through April 1st, but they've been extended until September, which is phenomenal. At this time, I'm going to end my sharing, Jen. We're going to go to Mr. Mike Powers, our County Executive Officer, who's going to share a few words about the incredible partnership that FoodShare and the County of Ventura has been able to assimilate. We could not do what we do without the support of our community partners, and the County of Ventura has been extremely helpful in helping us purchase more food to feed more people. So Mike, thanks so much. I know you're so busy right now, and I appreciate you jumping in and speaking to our town hall.
Always, Monica, of course. And good morning, Monica and Jennifer and community members. Just really here with just a huge sense of gratitude to all of you and to everybody who came together. You know, I was 1 year out, right? It doesn't seem real. It's all at once. It's like the longest year ever, but also like something that went by in a heartbeat. So it's amazing those two things can be true. But one thing we know is true is there's not many counties who've been through what we've been through for the last 3 years. I was on a community meeting a few weeks ago, and so I said, well, how are things going with the Thomas Fire recovery? That seems like a lifetime ago, but it's not, right? So many in our community are still recovering from that. Borderline, Hill-Woolsey, and now this. And we know we have a resilient, caring community, and boy, have we've had to depend on that and build those muscles even more this last year. But we have, and FoodShare is a great example of that, because it's not just the food that you provide, although that's critical, but it's the volunteer network that you leverage, right? It's all these caring people who want to help. They're not sure how. They come to you and with just all your positive spirit and energy, and they just get swept away, it seems to me. How many growers, just individual volunteers, community groups that have come together, Air National Guard. It's amazing. And the partnership has expanded, but I think one of the things that's important is the partnership that was there to begin with. And, you know, what I would say to folks is I would never want this to happen to any community, but if it was going to happen, you know, it's an okay time because we have these partnerships already established. If you had to try to put these together after it started, we could do it, but boy, it wouldn't be nearly as effective. And isn't that one of the great tragedies when disaster happens is you have all these resources over here and all these people in need over here, but you can't connect the two. And that's such a great loss. And so what I feel really good about with the partnership with FoodShare and all your leadership and community partners is that, you know, when volunteers volunteer their time, or the community donates money or food, the growers donate food, the county, you know, supports with contracts, we know it's going to the right place. And that's that trust and credibility. It's going to people in need. And, you know, you talk about the need with those graphs, Monica. What I think is important too is to set the baseline. I mean, before the pandemic, you're providing food to 75,000 food insecure folks every month. That's in good times, right? And so that y'all got to take a deep breath on that one. But then imagine how much it was exacerbated during the pandemic. And so to see, yes, all that you've done to provide the food, but then partnering and listening to the community that says, well, okay, you're getting it out over here, but here's folks that we're missing, right? And a great example you touched on is farm workers. What more painful travesty could there be than the idea that farm workers who are putting food on our tables don't have enough food for themselves, right? And so, you know, how you look at a community is how we take care of those most in need. And, you know, there you have all those pop-up sites, and you show the numbers, Monica. It's great. And at times that's work for them. They work hard. They work long hours. And so they need to have these pop-ups in the weekends, in the evenings, and at places where they know and they can get to in a trusted way. So, and that trust is so important. So, it's been a great partnership. Also, the county has tried to really listen. It's not just a health, it's also the economic, and we've seen that, our business assistance efforts, rental assistance, housing the homeless, especially the medically fragile, supporting farm workers, and feeding seniors. Such a big part, and that's been such a big role in our area agency on aging, with tons of community partners, including FoodShare front and center. They provided, I'm going to check the number here real quick, 3.6 million meals since March of 2020. That sounds like a made up number. It is not. It's probably an understatement, actually. And again, that speaks to the partnership between the community, the county, and FoodShare. The senior nutrition garden that you have, which I think is really cool, right there near your site out there.
It's your garden, Mike.
What's that?
It's your garden.
It's our garden. It's the community's garden.
It's our
right?
garden.
It's everybody's garden. I just love it. Growing thousands of fresh food, organic produce every year to distribute. So, with that, I just say, as I say, deep gratitude to you and Monica and your board, all the FoodShare volunteers, all the community that rallies around this beautiful, caring community that we have. And we're 1 year out, and we're seeing things really start to look better, right? And the vaccine, I just checked the number this morning, 48.7% of people in our county have received at least one dose. So yes, we're right, the team, community team, our county disaster service workers, there's 370 reassigned folks who are now, that's all they do is this vaccine work. And they're really helping get the vaccine out there along with our community partners. Testing is still happening a lot, and that's important too. You need sort of the 1-2 punch, and we're testing at like 4,000 a day. It's amazing, and so that also helps catch it and stop it where it's at. And so businesses, are starting to rehire and reopen, and that's beautiful. And our business community has been so incredibly compliant and responsible from the get-go. We couldn't have a more generous and community-minded business group than we do. And we have over 16,000 businesses, close to 17,000 now signed up on VC Reopens. And that's so critical, and they're doing a great job. And it's just, you can feel the energy. I think I was in downtown Ventura going out to eat with my family, and it's just stuff that, go out to eat would be nice. It was just a revelation. It was so much fun, right? Stuff that we maybe took for granted before, we never will again, probably. But the spirit, you can feel it. It's really positive. And so we do talk about recovery and comeback, but our thought is, let's not just come back to where we were. Let's come back to a place beyond, even better than where we were pre-pandemic, right? And I think we got to aim high. Part of doing that, though, means we can't leave anybody behind, and we never forget the people who we've lost, the families impacted, the businesses lost jobs, and help with that. But and we need people helping with jobs and training and education and so forth. But if they can't put food on their table, they're not going to be able to focus as much. So these basic needs are such a huge part of this overall comeback and recovery in our county. So, and we're doing it because of you and a great partnership, and can't wait to see this partnership continue to grow. And I look forward to also on your agenda going forward, you have the Monica Timmy show. I might not be able to make it for that, but hopefully we're recording it. I want the outtakes mostly. So no, I'm sure it'll be great. And as I said earlier, this is a special community, like 2 degrees of separation. Right? People know folks, everybody works with or is connected to in some ways in our county, and that's our strength. And I mentioned with Monica too, like just first names people know. You talk about Monica, okay, well, that's FoodShare. You talk about Vanessa, right? That's we all know Eric, and so forth, and Timmy. Right? We all know who Timmy is. And so, but I think that speaks to who we are as a county. It's these relationships of trust and compassion and caring. So with that, I'll just say a great gratitude to all of you here today, and look forward to continuing to strengthen our partnership going forward.
Well, thank you, Mike. I really appreciate it. And I cannot say enough about the strength of the partnership between FoodShare and the County of Ventura. It was, as soon as this happened, it was just an automatic phone call of how can we help? What can we do? And I think it was cute in the beginning that we said, oh, 90 days. that
Yeah.
and here we are going
It's a
on
renewing 90 days.
our fourth renewal of 90 days,
Right.
that I don't think any of us thought it would be this long. But the good news is that we've been able to continue this pace. We've been able to continue the providing for the need for everyone, in addition to everything else that's happening. So the county's doing an amazing job with the vaccines and the testing and all of that. And I can't thank you enough for even thinking of us and being able to support us to be able to help our neighbors, because it's all of us together that's going to make the difference, right?
That's right, Monica. Thank you. And you're so right. I mean, taking me back. It's just a phone call. Pick up the phone. We need you. We need your help. Hey, boom, let's go. Let's set it up. Let's do it. It's great.
So, all right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck. I just want you to know I got my vaccine. So
Yes.
yes, and we are at, I think, 65% of our employees have all been
Fantastic.
vaccinated as well. So
It's great
leading
to
by
hear.
example.
Yay, that's right. Great stuff. Thank you, Monica.
All right. Well, thank you, Mike. We appreciate
Bye-bye.
it.
Take care.
Okay, bye. All right, Jen, I think we're going to go back to my presentation. I had just a couple more slides to share with everyone. We were talking about the Air National Guard, and this is a picture of the Air National Guard at our additional warehouse that we had to secure. This was a 37,000 square foot, it was the former Surfaces USA, and Oxnard, the Lawrence Joss, a local businessman, was so kind to provide this to the space to us at no charge for many, many months, to be able to provide us the space to be able to set up the line for these emergency food boxes, to keep the social distancing, and for the additional food, the pallets and pallets of food, the thousands of pallets of food that had come in to be able to build these boxes. So 1 year later, we have, because the Air National Guard will still be with us through September, and we are not seeing any decrease in the amount of boxes, emergency food boxes that we've had to distribute. We have secured a new location. This is 521 Elevar Street. We will be leasing, signed a lease for 2 more years. This will be a temporary space so we can continue to be able to serve that need. And now we're going to go to a video. Jen, I'm going to let you take it from here.
Sounds good. So we have a nice little video that was just produced that should be able to share a little bit more about what we've been doing. So make sure you can hear it. And here we go. Let me just make sure I'm sharing the right screen.
You are. You can see. I can see it.
Perfect. Thank you.
I don't. No sound though, Jen. Okay.
My apologies. Once we've got a slide 1 year later, we sometimes know what we're doing. Here we go.
Well, and we do it 20 times and
20 times a week. Here we go. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Monica White, President and CEO of FoodShare, Ventura County. Over the past challenging 12 months, FoodShare has distributed nearly 26 million pounds of food. That is to provide more than 21 million meals to people who are food insecure right here in Ventura County. That's the equivalent of feeding a sold-out Dodger Stadium 3 meals a day for the entire baseball season, plus the playoffs and the World Series.
It's taken a village to make it happen. Our dedicated staff of 36 here at FoodShare has been working around the clock to distribute food direct to people in need and to support our network of pantry partners, 25% of whom had to close for many months during the pandemic. We're really happy to see that most of these organizations that do such incredible work in the community have reopened. Throughout it all, we've relied heavily on our dedicated family of volunteers who've given 76,000 volunteer hours, or the equivalent of FoodShare employing an additional 36 staff members.
Volunteers, including the Air National Guard, have packed 160,000 emergency food boxes, helping to feed thousands of families across Ventura County.
And our volunteers have packed more than 10,000 kitchen-free bags, providing nutritious, ready-to-prepare meals for our unhoused friends. And they've done it with dedication and enthusiasm during the most difficult time most of us can remember.
This has been a historically challenging period for everyone, but it's been particularly challenging time for the 150,000 people a month who've relied on FoodShare to put food on their table, many for the first time. The good news is that the generosity of our supporters has ensured that we've been able to rescue, purchase, and distribute more food than ever in FoodShare's 43-year history. We truly can't thank you enough. We all hope that things will continue to get better, but with the support of you, our community, we've shown that we can and will be able to continue to feed our neighbors. Because no one should go hungry.
One of my favorite videos, that's for sure. All right, well, I think Mike alluded to it, but I think it's about time that we get to the Timmy show, as Mike alluded to. So with that, I would like to introduce one of our pantry partners. A lot of you may know him. He is the recently retired, and I say retired in quotes because once I tell you who he is and what he's been doing, it is not the definition of retired at all. But Tim Hagel, recently retired Chief of Police from the Thousand Oaks Police Department, Ventura County Sheriff's Office. Even while in office he started Safe Passage Youth, one of our agency partners that has been helping to distribute food and other things to a community up in Newbury Park area. Hi, Tim.
Hi, Jennifer. I heard you. You know, I'm right.
Well, I'm so glad that you can join us today, and Monica has been very excited to talk to you, of course. So I will let the two of you take it away.
Thanks so much. Jennifer.
Hi, Tim. So glad you're with us today.
So the Monica and Timmy show. It sounds like a radio talk. That's the CEO of 9,000 people saying the Monica and Timmy show.
I think we should feel blessed.
Yeah. How are you?
Well, I'm good. Tim, thanks so much for joining us today on our second town hall. And I wanted to bring you on because to me, you are a perfect story to be able to share about a silver lining within COVID. I know that that Safe Passage Youth was not a actual FoodShare partner prior to COVID. And I know that once everything started, I said, Tim, we need to get you on board, and we made it happen, and you have just taken off with it. So if you could just give us a little bit of a history of your program and how you came to be a FoodShare partner, that would be wonderful.
Thank you, Monica. Well, it all goes down to being born 61 years ago in Thousand Oaks on the west side. Oh, no, that's a different story. Okay. Let's start out with Safe Passage. I'll take 7 years and squeeze it into 30 seconds. Started out in 2014 when I saw gang violence countywide escalating. And right underneath the layers in the Conejo Valley were two gangs in Thousand Oaks doing massive crimes all year. And the average person had no clue. But it was affecting micro communities, especially communities of color, Latinx, and with violent crimes every year. So in 2014, we decided that we knew we were 90% there as police officers. We knew that whatever we were doing wasn't working. So we had it 90% solved. Just don't do what we were doing for the last 20 years as cops. And what we learned was that to reduce crime in gangs, you had to provide them right back to Maslow's needs. And guess what's right in there? Food, shelter, security, understanding, belonging, being loved. And that's hard for cops to use that term, right? But those are all super important. So we started Safe Passage Youth 6 days a week with about 125 kids. We fed them every day. We got all their homework done with police officers, retired teachers. And long story short, I said I'd tell the story in 30 seconds. We reduced gang crime for the first time in 35 years, over 40%. Now, we were spending $2.5 million a year just in Thousand Oaks on chasing 200 little gang members around, over $2 million. We weren't spending 20 cents on prevention, okay? And so we flipped the paradigm. Now we're back in January of 2020. I remember on that Friday when the school superintendent announced on the East County that there won't be school on Monday, and the schools were closed. And our 127 kids that we had, we knew there was no way we were leaving them behind. So we moved from 6 days a week and pivoted overnight to 7 days a week. And we started feeding the kids immediately that Monday. They had no school. We knew this is where gangs can take root. So we issued out 160 computers on Monday. We started assigning homework to the kids. And we ran over to the school district and just said, give us any kind of homework there is. And we ran mimeographs and photocopiers, and we got an army of moms to get photocopiers going. And we started giving homework out every day. The 127 kids grew to 680 kids in 10 days. So that's fine. Since we're a youth protection program, 680 kids, but they all needed to be fed. And this is what, as Mike Powers said, that was a phone call from Monica to me at Safe Passage. I said, Monica, you know, we're a bunch of cops and retired teachers and moms and dads. We know how to mentor and do kids' homework. But suddenly the school lunch program was closed because the schools were closed, and they were scrambling at breakneck speed. And by Tuesday, we started providing lunch. And we were hand making around 2,000 sandwiches a week, secretly in a bunch of moms and dads' kitchens all through the Conejo Valley. We would collect them up every morning, and we would pass out milk and lunches every day. Since that January of last year, I was looking up the numbers today, FoodShare has provided us over 203,000 pounds of groceries that we have passed out to these 680 kids. Now, what makes that amazing is we're just a bunch of volunteers. We're a bunch of wingnuts out. Nobody's paid at Safe Passage. And we provide, so far, you know, we would normally give the kids what I would call dinner prior to COVID. They would get something between a lunch and a dinner, and we would send them home at 5:30 at night. Because of COVID, we realized we got to deliver breakfast and lunch to these kids. So besides the 203,000 pounds of groceries that we've delivered because of FoodShare, we've dispersed 162,000 breakfast and lunch. And we continue to do that every single day. So we suddenly got into the breakfast and lunch industry, pivoting. Because of FoodShare and Conejo Community Outreach, we've delivered 62,000 diapers. 700 pounds of baby formula. Monica, I can tell you everything you want to know about diapers and baby formula. Number one is, come on, FoodShare, we need size 6. I need size 6 diapers. Give me my size 6 diapers.
We're working on it for you, Tim.
Okay. For those of you that don't know that, size 2, 3, and 4 you can find everywhere. Size 6, that's a challenge. We've been able to give out over 175 utility grants. We find that many people living in micro communities. We have many farm workers, service industry, and they couldn't afford to pay their Edison bill or their cell phone bill. So we issued out 125 cell phones and provide them money to be able to pay their utilities with rent relief. So what does all this mean? This means that we've put in 12,000 volunteer hours because of COVID, but we couldn't have done it without FoodShare. It, like, making it easier to meet today's needs and to reach tomorrow's dreams for these children, their dreams, not our dreams. Jennifer, I think it was in her narrative, talked about it takes a village, or as my cousins in Attendorn, Germany say, it takes a village. But insecurity takes root in times of social struggle. It has for a millennium. And food security, in my mind, is the poster child of that insecurity. It's the canary in the mine is food insecurity. And as being a law enforcement officer, I know you need that food, you need that shelter, you need that safety, because that's what gangs provide. And that's what makes them so lucrative and so promising in underserved communities. Well, we had to rely on FoodShare, and we do today, not only for nutrition, but I look at it in a selfish way of my mission of keeping communities safe. FoodShare doesn't just feed people, it keeps communities safe. And there are heroes behind the scenes. I saw in the video, faces that I didn't know a year ago, like, of course, Jennifer and Pam and Annabelle and Junior and Luther and Andy. And I love that guy, Junior. If you ever get a chance, go see him down there. But these are people working behind the scenes every day in Ventura County. And we can't keep the gangs at bay, and we can't keep the communities safe with all of the things we do if we don't share our food. It's in our DNA. It's in our DNA to share food. And so, now I'm going to give my cop speech. Nobody's sitting on death row today in California. I'm willing to have anyone challenge me. Go fact check it. Nobody is sitting on death row today that was loved by his community, that was cared for by his community, that was fed well by his community, educated by his neighbors, cared and loved for by police officers. And it's the food share idea that, Monica, you and your whole team incorporates, that gives thousands and tens of thousands of families hope for the future. That's my speech.
Tim, you gosh, you
That's
make me
right
cry.
here. I'm not reading prompts.
Well, thank you so much, and I'm so proud of you for all that you're doing. And I think one of the important things too is that all of the food that you and the other, Tim is one of the 190 different partners that we work with. There is no charge for any of the food that our partners pick up from Food Share. We have waived the delivery fee during COVID. So any of the food, they can take as much as they need to be able to serve the numbers that they have. So when Tim had additional numbers, we fortunately were able to match that need, to be able to rescue more food, purchase more food. And we couldn't do it without the partners exactly like Tim and Safe Passage, to be able to reach those who are in need right here in our community. So Tim, thank you so much. I adore you. I think you're wonderful, and I love your puka shells, and I love seeing you. And I thank you. Thank you for Tim always brings somebody new every time he comes shopping. Yep. And they end up sweating, and they're like, this is hard work, Tim. So he makes them, put their money where their mouth is, that, come in and I'll show you what it's about. You are single-handedly probably one of the best ambassadors, because every time somebody comes into our warehouse and sees the scope of our operation, they all say the exact same thing. I had no idea. And so thank you, Tim, for all you do. Thank you for your support, and thank you for everything you're doing for those Thousand Oaks kids.
Thank you, Monica. And again, thank your whole staff for all of us.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We love you.
What do you got coming on now? What's going on?
Okay. So now I'm gonna send it over to Jen, because we are going to do a little Q&A, and stay on, Tim, in case anyone has any questions for you as well. Okay. And Jen, we'll send it back to you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Tim. As always, you're just such a joy to work with. I want to encourage people at this time, that Q&A box down at the bottom. Please insert any questions that we haven't answered yet, or ones that you've just been curious about for so long. We're happy to answer them. And Monica, we actually have one already. Okay. Are you ready? Are you ready to Q&A?
I'm ready.
Okay. So Ken asks, how many paid employees and how many volunteers for Food Share?
I love it when I get a question I can answer.
Yes.
All right. So Ken, we have 36 paid employees. Jen and I are two of those hunger relief workers at Food Share, but we couldn't do what we do without the 3,000 volunteers that help us on an annual basis. It's the combination of all of those that actually doubles the amount of our employees workforce. The hours that they put in is equal to 36 full-time employees. It's pretty amazing. It's the backbone of our organization. It has been since the beginning, but we can't thank them or do anything without them.
Absolutely. Valerie asks, does Food Share only cover Ventura County?
Valerie, yes, our footprint is Ventura County. We are the Ventura County Food Bank. as designated by Feeding America that we are a member of. That's the National Hunger Alleviation Network. There are 200 food banks throughout the United States that are part of the Feeding America network. And every single county in the United States is covered by a Feeding America food bank. And so FoodShare is the Ventura County Food Bank. There is one in Santa Barbara, there's one in Los Angeles, there's 2 in Orange County, they're in Santa Barbara. In California, there's about 40 of them. We're also part of the California Association of Food Banks. Having that network within California and nationally, it really helps with our best practices. And I personally on a phone call every other week with all of the food bank CEOs, sharing best practices so we can find out the best way to help those in need.
One of our longtime friends and supporters, Diane McKay, she says, "You all take such good care and of a huge need, yet stay so positive and friendly. It's not a question, but a huge thank you." But then she adds, "How do you help the community college students?"
Oh, yes, community college students. Thank you, Diane. So we have pantries at every single one of our universities. Cal State University, Channel Islands, California Lutheran University, Moorpark College, Ventura College. Am I missing one, Jen?
Did you say Oxnard College?
And Oxnard College, oh, just the biggest one, and Oxnard College. So we have working pantries that they come and they get food from us and they distribute those to the students who are there who need food. So yes, we work with all of them.
Thank you. So Valerie now asks, what is your greatest need for volunteers?
Very. So Valerie, that's a great question in that we have an app. I guess I'm just going to just throw that out right now. We have an app where you go to on the Apple Store or the Android. You can go and you search for FoodShare Ventura County, and you can download the app, and there you can find a whole bunch of great information, including volunteer opportunities. So most of our volunteers right now are working on rescue. Food that we receive from our retail partners or from food drives has to be sorted. We have to check the expiration dates. So we have volunteers who do that. And then we also have volunteers who pack our senior kits. We have people who are helping the Air National Guard pack the emergency food boxes, and definitely at our pop-up distributions. The one that we have in Oxnard every Wednesday. Jen, how many volunteers do we need for that?
80.
80 volunteers every single week. The city of Oxnard has been phenomenal in putting some of their employees, directing them towards that. But since the vaccines have been coming up, they've been reallocating or removing them to those positions. So we can always use help at our pop-up distributions. It's a pretty short window. It's hard work. You're putting boxes into the cars, but we can definitely use your help there. So look on our app, or you can go on our website at foodshare.com/volunteer, and you can sign up and see everything that you need there.
Speaking of our pop-up food distributions, and really any pantry that we distribute food from, Ken asks, how do you determine eligibility to receive food?
There is no eligibility requirements to receive any food from any of our partners or at our pop-up distributions. There are some requirements if it is a USDA pantry, and that we do receive the food that we receive from the government requires a little bit more, and that they have to comply with federal guidelines. But all of the pantries, if you go to any pantry and you ask for food, you will receive food. As we say, we are not the food police. If you are in need, you will receive food. When you go through the drive-through distributions, you are required to show an ID, just because we do take their zip code and how many people are in their family, just so for our tracking mechanisms. But if you live outside of the county and you come to get food here, you still can get food as well.
All right, are you ready for a hard one?
Did I answer that one right, Jen?
Yes, no, absolutely.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
And I say, are you ready for a hard one? Because we've been talking about this internally for almost since it started. When is this going to be over? And Tom and one other person asks, is there any hope of the need returning to a normal level post-pandemic? And then somebody else added, as our community begins to look toward a COVID-free future, what do you expect in terms of food insecurity and hunger? Will it go away, or will there be a long tail on the need for years to come? What are you going to need from us?
Definitely a long tail. One thing that we have learned from past disasters is that the tail is long, and there are people that are going to be falling through the cracks of that safety net for a very long time. And that even though some of the rent was, if they said you don't need to pay your rent right now, or you don't need to pay your utility bill right now, it's going to come due at some point if it's not forgiven. And so even though there are vaccines, what we have been saying is the vaccine does not end hunger. And the economic impact of COVID from the people who have lost their jobs, have had the loss of revenue, that it's going to be a while. Again, what we were saying with Mike in the beginning, we didn't know. We said 90 days. Then we said, oh, the end of the year. And then we said, oh, this is for sure a year. And now we're looking even longer, that we know for sure that obviously through 2021, but it could be as long as 2 to 4 years that we're going to see people who are going to still be in need based on the impact from COVID. As Mike was saying in the beginning, in the good times, back when unemployment was only at 3%, we were serving 75,000 people per month. Currently, we're serving 150,000 people per month. Will it go back down to 75,000 as soon as everyone is vaccinated? No. And will we ever see the number at 0? No. And we know that, and we've planned for that. And that the good thing about Food Share is that we have planned to be able to feed anybody who is in need for as long as needed. Everyone has a different reason for hunger. And it may not be COVID. It may be that their car broke down. It may be that they have a medical bill, that they're getting a divorce. It could be, there's thousands and thousands of reasons of why somebody is facing hunger and why they need to make ends meet at the end of the month, and why they need the help of one of our pantry partners. We're here to be able to provide that. If I had a magic 8 ball and could tell you exactly, oh, at this date it's going to be over, I wish I could. My board members ask the same thing all the time. But the good news is that we are setting ourselves up to be able to continue for as long as needed.
A couple people have asked this question in various different ways. So let me see if I can kind of cliff notes the version to you. And so somebody's asking, what is the yearly budget for the 36 employees? And then what is the monthly budget? What percentage of that is covered by donors? So they saw the infographic of the increased amount of food being distributed. Yes. And they're kind of wondering, okay, since we had to where did that extra food come from? How did we get it in here?
Okay, so two part of the questions. Our annual budget is a little over $5 million. And that is cash that we need to be able to, that's our operating cash reserve that we need every year. Our fiscal year starts on July 1st, and about 20% of that revenue comes from the government. And we like to say that 20% is guaranteed, as guaranteed as it can be, but the rest of it comes through a combination from individuals. It comes from organizations, foundations. We do a lot of grant writing, corporations, but it's the combination of all of those to make that a little over $5 million per year to run Food Share for that amount of food. One of the things that if you ever looked at our 990 online, it will show that we're a $26 million organization. And that is because the value of the food that we distribute is included in there. And that is a whopping $21 million value. The retail value of it, though, is pretty amazing. It's almost $45 million. If we were to go to the store and purchase all of this food, the retail value of that is $45 million. Jen, you have to remind me, I'm not good at those two-part questions. What was the second part of it?
So how much of that does go into directly programs and services?
So 95%, so 95 cents of every dollar goes towards programs and services. Pretty proud of that.
Very, very proud of that.
Yes.
I have a fun one.
There was another question though. There was another part in that, Jen. I wanted to answer it. Now I can't remember what it was.
Sorry, thank you for reminding me. So the graph you showed, because of all of the food that has come in, the drastic increase in the poundage distributed, where is all that food coming from?
Yes. it's interesting. Our model really has been flipped really upside down. In the past, the majority of the food that we received was donated. So we receive food from about 20% comes from USDA. We receive about, I'm not going to do my percentages here. A large portion comes from our retail partners. So every retail outlet in Ventura County that has food, every single day has food that they no longer can sell, but it's still good. So we rescue it, we bring it in, and we get it out through our partners. That we do food drives. People love to be able to do food drives and bring food to us. And then we purchase. And so, but what happened with COVID is that there was a lot less food to rescue. As you can remember, during the TP Armageddon, people were hoarding TP, but they were also hoarding all the food that we normally rescue at the end of the day. They were stocking up and making sure that their pantries were full. The good news is a lot of that food's now being donated to FoodShare, which we appreciate. But so there wasn't enough food to rescue at the retail partners, but so we also so we started purchasing, and so there was a much higher cost on that as well. We've been very, very appreciative of the additional support that we know we ask for dollars because we're buying truckloads, literally truckloads of food to be able to fill those emergency food boxes.
I think our warehouse manager, Andy, he said before COVID, he used to get maybe 2 semi-truck deliveries a week. In the prime of COVID, which we're still in, we've been receiving between 9 and 12 semi-truckloads a week. And that's because of all of the food that we're having to bring in and now having to lease an additional warehouse here in Oxnard to be able to store all of that. So that shows you the magnitude of what we're having to do right now. It's pretty incredible. Somebody commented, it seems that FoodShare has demonstrated that it is in fact a first responder. People need food to survive just like air and water. Will we be seeing sirens on FoodShare trucks anytime soon? Sheriff Ayub was on this call a little bit earlier. I doubt he would go for that.
I'm going to say that we're going to save our donor dollars to be able to buy more food and not sirens.
You like how I softballed that one up for you?
Yeah, no, that's funny. That made me laugh. So no, thank you. I appreciate that. And this has been a very interesting time in that most, for all the other disasters, we were the second responders that we were following up, after the Red Cross and fire and police, and we're all coming in. Right now, we are on the front line. We've been fortunate to be, recognized as an essential worker. We are essential business. We have been at FoodShare since day one, wearing our masks, of course, and socially distancing. But yes, we consider ourselves first responders, that we're out on the front line feeding those who have been directly impacted by COVID.
And Sheriff Abe did just throw a comment in there saying, not a chance. Okay, Sheriff. Okay, we'll leave the lights and sirens to the professionals. Kevin asks, how does the gleaning program work at FoodShare?
Our gleaning program. So we, as many of you may know, we started as a gleaning organization. We worked in the fields collecting in this bountiful ag community, collecting everything that was after the tractors went through, what was left over. And that was what they fed to the people who needed food in our county. That is how we started. But now we don't do that anymore, but we do work with our ag partners, but they deliver it by the truckload now. But we also still have our gleaning program. It's 100% volunteer run. Dave Orr is our fabulous head gleaner who coordinates all of it. And we glean fruit, vegetables from orchards, people's backyards. And Jen, I don't remember the exact number. We just put it together for the annual report, but it's amazing the amount of food that they collect.
It was just over 100,000 pounds of fresh produce that we collected last year. It's pretty incredible. And Dave he has so much passion for it. He loves to go out and get up in the ladders and in the trees and pick those oranges and lemons and grapefruits and whatever else it is that you have from one tree to 200 trees, we can pick it all. So if that's where you want to get out and volunteer, absolutely, we have plenty of those opportunities. So just go to foodshare.com/volunteer, where you can find all of the different picks that we have. Or as Monica mentioned, we have an app. It's an amazing app. It's so easy to navigate. It has all of the different ways. The volunteer button is right there on it, so you'd be able to get on there.
Jen, will you share what else was the exciting new function of the app that we're so proud of too? The Find Food Now.
No, thank you, because that's exactly where I knew you were going. So on our app has a really great feature. It's a Find Food Now feature. So if somebody were to click on it, it would be able to see where they're located and find the pantry nearest them that is currently open. So that would be able to help them get food immediately. If unfortunately there are none open in the area, if it happens to be a weekend or an evening, they'd be able to then search the next available next day, or they'd be able to come to FoodShare during our operating hours and pick up an emergency bag of food, and we can then help direct them to a pantry nearby. But it's just such an easy and innovative way to be able to help somebody even quicker get the food that they're looking for. So that is also not only on our website, but it's also right on the app and very mobile friendly. So I highly suggest you download the app. Just go to your App Store or Google Play Store and search FoodShare of Ventura County, and you'll see our jewel. It should pop right up and you'll be able to download it. So
it's the #1 function on our app that is being used now. So we're so happy that it's working. And it's from what I know, it's one of the first of its kind to be able to show immediately. We used to have a PDF, and you had to figure out, these poor people had to figure out if it was the second or third Thursday of the month. It's great. We're so glad that it's working and that people are using it, because any additional way that we can connect people with food, we're doing our job. Jen, I would love to, because I'm looking at the time, and I would like to end on the #1 question that I get. And so I do need to go in here though. Let's see. Oh, how do I do this? The #1 question is that I get, Monica, how can I help? So we have 3 things. There are 3 ways that you can help. The #1 is food. I love this picture. I had to share it with you because if you can't read it, but it says, "Good morning. I came to drop this canned food. I know it's not a lot. It was actually my daughter's idea. She's only 10 years old. I hope it helps. Thank you." And Food for Food Bank. It absolutely helps. We cannot do it without the support from our donors' cans, your dollars, and your hours. So dollars, every dollar we can buy $5 worth of food. So that helps as well. And then the hours, as we've talked about, the amazing, the workforce of our volunteers. It's the combination of all 3 of them that makes FoodShare be able to serve our community. And we couldn't do it without you. We'd love to be able to have your support with 1, 2, or maybe 3. And post-COVID, I'll even give you a hug. So thank you so much. We're so glad that you were here today. Jen, anything else before we wrap it up at exactly 11 o'clock?
I think we did phenomenal wrapping it, giving people, let's see if we can give them one more minute, but we just want to say thank you so much. Again, this is being recorded. It will be emailed out to those that attended, as well as those that weren't able to join us, so you'd be able to share it with whoever you'd like. And again, any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself and or Monica if we didn't answer anything that you heard today. So thank you so much.